Hey everybody, we're continuing with the mental health awareness series. Today my guest is the beautiful and insightful Camilla Dallerup. She was a professional dancer and professional dancer on Dancing with the Stars and a guest on the UK's Dancing with the Stars and author of 3 amazing books, and she's going to correct anything that I just got wrong. She'll be here momentarily. She's coming. Great to see you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Hi.
Hey, Camilla. How are you? You look wonderful.
Thank you. I thought I'd make an effort for you, and I also just made myself a coffee.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for making an effort for me. I very much appreciate that. Okay, so I love, let's just go right in. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and I love your story. I love how open you are about the journey that you've been on. You were a very athletic dancer, really precise, really successful. You were on Strictly Come Dancing, which later became Dancing with the Stars. And you, even after you became a hypnotherapist and meditation teacher and everything, you went back to actually judge Dancing with the Stars, right? Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your mental health journey throughout all of that and how you went from being this prolific celebrity dancer into the self-help coach work that you're in now.
But there's so much in this sentence that you, when where to start. But you know what? It's so interesting. Can we just start with the fact that I went back and became a judge on Dancing with the Stars in New Zealand? Because what I really am obsessed with in life is that the sentence, nothing is really as it seems. And when I got offered the job after so many years of after having left, and obviously you know what I teach meditation and hypnosis and life coaching. That's what I do. So for me to go back and do that job, I kept thinking, would that be the right thing for me to do at this time in my life? And why would I be doing it? Like, for what purpose? Because I knew, you know, yeah, it's a fun, and it wasn't my ego that wanted it. I was like, well, how can I serve if I go? And on a mental health, you know, situation too, how could I spread the word of meditation to more people, perhaps, if I went? And that's what I decided to do, because I decided that maybe more young people would watch the show and I could get to talk about meditation and what I did and so forth. What was so beautiful last time when I did the show in New Zealand of Dancing with the Stars was that actually mental health was something that got talked about a lot. A lot of the competitors, the celebrities on the show, were open about their own stories. And at one point we had 2 major famous in New Zealand sports people, 2 men holding hands and crying live on air and talking about their own issues, their own situations, their own mental health journeys. And I just thought, I was like pinching myself going, this is why I'm here. Like, seemingly I'm here for the dancing, to judge this dancing, but this is not why I'm here, right? I'm here because there's something big at play here. And when you're part of something like that, and these, you know, big, strong guys start talking about, like, I cry too, I get emotional too. Sometimes I didn't want to go out and be tough. You just think, yes, let's have these conversations, you know. And so this is so perfect when, you know, when we have these talks about mental health. And for my own situation was really a strange one, because I guess I just learned to be tough, like to just toughen up and be an athlete for so long of my life that I didn't know any other way. So when sadness and hurt and grief slapped me in the face in my 30s, I didn't know what to do with it, because I was like, whoa, I didn't know I could feel this bad. And this time I can't just soldier on because I feel awful. So I need to do something different with this. And that was my journey into really using mindfulness, meditation, and any other tool that had to do with the mind, where I could reprogram. And just, I read like every book I could get my hands on that said reprogramming of the mind, because I was desperate to feel better. And the worst thing that people could say to me at the time was it'll get better with time. And you thought, oh my gosh, how long do I have to sit and feel this bad for? And I remember saying to a friend, I will never forget the day I just looked at my friend and I was like, will I ever wake up and just feel happy again? And will there ever be light at the end of the tunnel? And that's why I do the work I do today, because I did find light at the end of the tunnel. And hey, we all still have moments, you know, of deep sadness and grief and all sorts of challenges we go through. But the good thing is when we have tools, we can face it and look it in the eyes and go, okay, I feel terrible right now, but I'm going to turn to some of the tools that I have to guide me through this. And I know I can do this.
Mm-hmm. And so was it depression that just came on, or was it something, did something happen? Did you lose someone you loved?
Yeah, for me, it was a breakup. It was a very public one. And it just turned my world upside down. I talk about that in my first book. I just thought I had everything. I thought I was on my path. The career path was going. I just landed my dream job. I bought my first apartment. I was about to get married. Life was good. And then it was like somebody just took the rug I was standing on and then just pulled it away underneath me. And everything as I knew it, my business, everything, my relationship just fell apart.
So your engagement actually ended.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everything in one go. He was my business partner and you know what now? Like, so much peace there. Like, big journey, so much peace, you know.
Yeah. And so now you are in a new relationship years later.
Yes.
And
that was hard to imagine back then. That was hard to imagine that you could ever fall in love again or even feel happy again or feel okay, you know, when you're hurt.
Right.
Or devastated, you know, your best friend, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. You know, a friend of mine recently posted on Facebook. She said, those of you who have had an engagement that didn't go through, how do you deal with it? And I saw that and I was like, I am so excited that I'm having this conversation with Camilla, because you're such a success story, you know, and most people who know you, they don't even think about that. That's not your identity. That was part of what the message was. That was part of what was in that first book. But here you are you've already released book 3, and no doubt there's more on the way, you know?
I don't know yet. I'm exhausted from writing the first 3. I need a break.
It is exhausting.
You are like a machine. You're different.
Oh man. Yeah, but I don't know if that's the right way to do it, you know. I don't know. I did just, you know, today, actually, speaking of which, I turned in the manuscript for my 4th book today.
I can't wait.
Yeah, so I'm catching up.
Yeah. I mean, your one that's out at the minute is looking beautiful. So beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really, really happy with it, you know. And just like you know, it really took the challenging emotions to really turn into something that helped me realize what I really am and who I really am, you know. And that becomes the legacy, you know. And so what I found in your work, and I want to hear you share about this, and you already kind of alluded to it with reprogramming the mind. It's about the power of the mind, and really what I love, especially in your 2nd book, and it is touched on in the 3rd book as well. What I love is the concept of reinvention, because it really does all start within.
Yeah.
And just because your past is not a prophecy of your future. You know, so tell us a little bit about your journey with reinvention.
Well, it was interesting because, you know, I started dancing and I became an athlete and that became my identity and that's what I did. And then I just woke up one day and I was like, who am I? And what is all of this? I don't even care. Like, what am I doing? I didn't recognize myself. I felt like I completely lost who I was and what I stood for, because what I do now is who I am. Like, I'm at home. I could do this just for the rest of my life. I love helping other people. And so that was quite scary because obviously I had built up I guess a life and, you know, money wise, you know, I had my house and like I had built this whole life around something, and then realizing that, oh, if I move this card now, all of the cards are going to fall. And I don't want to do this anymore. Right. So I knew that I had to start over because I had spent my entire life becoming the best I could in a career in dancing, and I didn't want to do it anymore. And that's quite scary in your like 30s to think now I have to start over. And what
Oh
does that
yeah.
even look like? What does that even, like, what do I even do?
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually funny. Somebody sent me a message that I sent to them like 6 years ago, even 6 years ago, as I moved to LA. And I laughed at myself at the message that I sent to that person, because I was about to move to a country, to the US, to LA, having never even been here before. That's crazy.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah,
But
totally.
that was part of my reinvention. I needed to physically make a move because I was struggling to reinvent myself in the environment I was in. I needed to just move somewhere where nobody knew me. I didn't have to talk about what I'd done in the past and that I used to dance. I just wanted to be who I was now.
Right, right. And okay, so everyone who's listening, really, really pay attention to this, because there's such good stuff that she's saying. And I really think that if you're listening, you can really get an inspiration from this. There's so much strength just in making that decision. And we know that from like a neuroscience perspective, we have like neuroplasticity in the brain. The brain is happy to rewire itself if you really do it right, and you have to engage that neuroplasticity in order for something to change. And you going to a new, it's all about that action, and you going to a new environment, experiencing a new place, that is a feast for neuroplasticity. It requires you to learn everything new. And I will say, I met you and I had no clue. It took me a while before I even knew you were a dancer. I had no clue you were a dancer.
So can I share this with you? Because this was the biggest challenge for me. Okay. So I have felt like I'd worked really hard on my ego. So I promised myself that if I had really worked that hard on my ego, I should, in theory, be able to go through a year in a new place and not talk about my past.
How did
so
it
that
go?
was interesting. So I wasn't really allowing myself to say anything like, oh, I used to dance, or oh, I used to do the show. I was trying not to speak about the past, but just the present.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you probably didn't know about that.
And you know what? You were such a great teacher. I remember taking your classes. And so the thing is, like, when someone is really distressed, they want to ask, they want to grasp, they want to like desperately, you really do have to get calm. You can't be desperate. Desperation's not going to get you anything,
No.
And so what I love about the work that we do, and we have different styles of it, but
I'm obsessed with your classes. So obsessed.
Oh, I love yours too. The idea is, first, get quiet. Mm-hmm. It starts there. It starts to get quiet, because look, sometimes we can't move to another country.
No.
When I was 18, I moved to Los Angeles. May as well have been another country from where I was from. But sometimes we can't even do that. And even living in Los Angeles, I know I've gone through many reinventions, and I even saw you reinvent yourself. There was that big reinvention, coming to the US, changing the career and everything. But really, when you went back to judge the dancing, I actually saw it was like a new expression. It was like another reinvention.
Do you know, because I had to really think about who I wanted people to see now, because I'd come home to myself. Mm-hmm. I'd been on a massive inward journey, so I couldn't turn up and be who I was before, because I had so many masks I was wearing, hiding who I really was. So I had to go and do a job that's so flamboyant and in your face in a way, but be true to the message. I think we also connect is because I know that you deeply care. I have known that from the first time I took your class. I felt in safe hands because you deeply care. Now, by the way, when you deeply care, and I don't know if you feel the same, sometimes doing work like writing a book or even creating a meditation is so much more work, because you care so much. You have to do 15,000 takes and edits, right? And also the second one is the intention behind anything we do. I think sometimes we underestimate that. And I think it's everything. I think two people can go into a room and they can say the same thing, but what the difference will be, whether you connect enough or not, is two things: whether they care enough for you to connect, or whether the intention that they have is authentic and actually for you. Do you go into a situation going, look at me, or do you go into the thing and say, this is what I'm here to do for you?
Right.
Intention is everything. And that's intention with a reinvention is the same. What's the intention? And like you said, you don't have to move countries, but you do need to know what is the intention of this that I want to reinvent. For me, it was, I had the words, I am lost. And what I really wanted was I'm content. So my journey was, how do I get to this place of feeling I can wake up and say, I'm content, whatever I do in life, whatever work I just feel content in here. Like I'm okay in myself.
So Camilla, for someone listening to this who might be feeling like, hey, I need a reinvention. That's what I need too. You know, of course, there's the programs and there's all the different things. What are some tips that you might be able to provide to help someone find that strength to really start to churn those grinds and create that reinvention, even if they can't move to another country? Or
what I found is that when we have like something within that we just know sparks some sort of interest. Like for me, it was the mind, just obsessed. I don't read other books. I just read about the mind. Like I can't get enough. Okay. When you have that thing, like, you know, one thing that you love, if it's sports or commentary. I mean, we have a friend who was he wanted to become a commentator. So he studied that subject, like just studied. That costs nothing. You can study online. You can become almost an expert before you've done the jump from one job or career to another. There's so much online that you can study and do for free in whatever area. Find that area where you're passionate, where it's like a hobby that you don't even think it feels like work. You just want to learn. And one day something might open up, and a possibility of something. I'll just share the story, because this woman sat next to me on a plane. I missed the plane. I got on another plane. This woman sits next to me, and I love this story. She was in a job she hated, because I was clearly meant to hear it. She started going to take sewing classes because she loved making clothes. And then she decided that she'd actually have just enough savings to take time out and go and apply for the famous college in London for design. She took this just because she needed something for her. Okay. She had no idea where she was going to go with this. Then she started running to feel like mentally, good about herself. She started running. She realized she couldn't find the right running clothes that she liked, so she started making it. And she now runs a successful company making fancy, cool running clothes. Now, when she set out on this is a story, great story. When she set out and just did that one thing, she thought, once a week, I got to do something I love, and that's going to be sewing classes, because she hated her job so much. So she took sewing classes. So that's what I'm saying. What is that one thing? For me, at one time when I was trying to find my voice, I took singing classes. That freed up something in me. You know, you can join a choir. Like, there's so many things you can do to kind of ignite whatever it is that makes you feel alive. It doesn't have to be like, right, okay, wow, now I've got to go like take a new degree and I'm going to leave everything here and I'm going to do, it doesn't have to be that black and white. You know, it can be, I'm just going to add one thing in that I'm going to start doing once a week. See where it goes. You just don't know. I've heard stories similar with people making jewelry. They just started making some jewelry for their friends and family when it was birthdays, and suddenly that became their career. Do some of the things that light you up, because it will feed your soul in whatever else you're doing.
Yeah, that actually, you're reminding me of, first of all, you're like describing my life. I feel like that's how I came into meditation. I was like, oh, I need to meditate. You know, I already knew how to meditate, you know, but I just like started to do it. And you know what? I didn't like the guided meditations.
You didn't?
I didn't like what was available, you know? And so I started to record my own for myself. And so I had some money. I got a good microphone, and I got a new computer, and I started to record some good guided meditations for myself. And I actually became a certified hypnotherapist when I was 19. So there was an interest there. So this was already kind of there, but it wasn't until like, into my 20s that I was like, I was listening to Deepak Chopra. I liked what he had to say. I really liked what he had to say. But more than anything, I liked what he was teaching. I wasn't really resonating with, I couldn't find the guided meditations that were perfect for me, And so I just started to do them in my own way. And then little by little,
and you do have your own style. Like you really do. I feel like that I know this week you're interviewing some of my favorite colleagues, and oh gosh, and you spoke to Marianne, right? Was it that yesterday?
Last night. Yep.
I mean, I just quote her all the time. She's been so important in my reinvention. Going to listen to her at the Saban Theater. Do you understand, when I landed in LA, I had no idea she was speaking at the Saban Theater. I can't believe that I lived around the corner and there she was, and I've been, seeing her online, and suddenly I was like 5 minutes away. And I love that you guys have this wonderful relationship too, but she's been a great inspiration, just listening to her and the way she speaks. And I feel similar about the way you speak. You just have, I don't know, it's beautiful. The language, the words that you use, this is my second language. So I aspire to have a vocabulary like you and Marianne's one day.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you're definitely very, very eloquent, and no one would ever guess that this was your second language. No one, I didn't even know that. I knew that you're like multilingual, but I didn't even know that this wasn't your first language, because you're actually from Denmark, is that right?
Yeah.
And so that's incredible. You're just a total jet setter. You're a global, you're a total global person.
You just gotta go for it, right?
Yeah. And so do you have any, I know you don't do like hypnotherapy audios, but do you have, or do you?
Starting.
Incredible. Because remember a couple of years ago, I was like, I need like a Camilla hypnotherapy.
Yeah, I do for my one-to-ones. I do for my clients. I do personal ones. And funny you say that, because literally today I have just created a positive affirmations for this, for the subconscious that will go out. But I am going to be doing more of that on kind of like a bigger scale. I've just been doing it like on a one-to-one.
Me too. Yeah.
But that's something that the lockdown has reminded me that all the hours I've been spending in the car driving, I've been creating different things now instead, and that's been helpful. I mean, I've been running around too much, setting traffic too much. So yeah. I like working one-to-one with people, but this is something that I did want to create. So yes.
Okay,
but
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any guided meditations in Danish?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think you could get that entire nation meditating. You're already this globe-trotting. They probably love you there. You're like a huge celebrity in Denmark.
No. Do you want to hear the funny part? My books some of them are translated into Arabic and Vietnamese, but it's still not in Danish.
Wow. That's surprising. I mean, I think it's incredible that they're in Arabic and Vietnamese. I mean, when my first book got translated into Chinese, I was like,
right?
Like
hard
really
to comprehend.
Yeah, really cool. I just think, you have such a precise way about you, and when it comes to the mind, there are precise ways to do these things, like we can do it willy-nilly, and you're just gonna like look at your life and the results will not be there. You got to do it correctly. And people give me a hard time. They're like, well, there's no right or wrong. And it's like, well, actually there are, if maybe let's not say right or wrong, there's effective and ineffective.
Yes.
Well, and
it's like tidying up your wardrobe, right? We could just throw it all out, right? And then leave it for months and months and look at it and be like, oh, right? But then, when somebody comes over and goes, right, Ben, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put all the blacks here, all the reds here, all the whites here. We're going to put this in. We're going to throw this away. It's like, oh, I got it now. That's kind of the same with the mind, right? If we just leave it, it's super overwhelming. We're just looking at it going, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do with this. So we have to be careful when we open up the mind. And by the way, I talk about this in Reinvent Me. And I remember I think we were having a conversation about this. Gotta be so, and I know you believe in this, we have to be so careful what we listen to, right? What are we filling our minds with subconsciously? TV, radio, music.
That's bigger and bigger. I include that in my next 2 books, both of them. And I refer to it as the psychic diet. What is your psyche taking in?
Yes.
You got to make sure it's nutritional, you know?
Yeah. If you're falling asleep with the TV on and you've got some, you know, drama going on and guns and
yeah, you know, I watched something the other day. I'm with my parents in Westchester. It's beautiful. We're spending family time together. I'm getting so much done. You know, it's wonderful. I'm like extremely grateful that I'm in such a fortunate position throughout the quarantine, you know, and I'm doing everything that I can, just like you, to be supportive, you know, of those who, you know, those who don't have the tools like us, you know. I feel like something Megan Monahan said just the other day was, she said, I felt like I was preparing for something. And then it was like, oh, this is what I was preparing for. This is what all that non-attachment and present moment awareness was preparing for, you know.
Totally.
But I'm here with my parents. We were watching something and it was actually disturbing.
Yeah.
And it was just, I'll just say it was Sherlock Holmes. We were just watching Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. And there was a suicide. And they show it. And it was just a show, but I could feel the disturbing energy from it.
You start to feel uncomfortable, right? Like tight-chested and like,
and like, and even right now I'm like remembering it. And so I went to bed. It was like 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. And I went to bed right after that. And I had such an uncomfortable night's sleep.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? I took for granted. And I even meditated after that. It's like eating too much ice cream.
Oh yeah.
And then, hey, I still took my vitamins.
Yeah.
I still meditated, but it was still there. It's like, actually eat less ice cream.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. I'm with you.
In the first place.
And you know what is interesting? I actually interviewed a lady the other day. By the way, she's written 100 books. 100 books. I know. I was like, oh my God. Her name is Teresa Chong, and she talks about dreams. And it was fascinating. And actually, after I'd spoken to her, I always take it really serious to meditate before sleep. But I went to sleep in a different way because she says your dreams are like a life coach to you. And she opened up my mind to really notice my dreams in a different way. So she was also saying what's going into your mind just before you go to sleep can like affect you in those dreams too. So you even want to be more careful then, right? So some of that stuff was lingering in your subconscious now as you're going to sleep, right?
Totally. And I never watched stuff like that. But what actually was so interesting, and I just want to say hi to everyone who's here, you know.
Yes.
There was something I'm really agreeing with you. Someone saying no Game of Thrones for us. Yeah, probably not. Some foreign films with domestic abuse or divorce are hard for me to watch. I don't like to take those things in, you know. I have, you know, Marianne Williamson, you know, she's like my mother, you know, she's like my spiritual mama. She says to me,
can you check with
I think she's very she's like a mother of a generation. But she says, look, take in 30 minutes of the news, you'll get what you need. You know, 30 minutes. Yeah. And then she even says you have to meditate in order to allow your nervous system to take in what's there and then to not be like harmed by it, to be able to take it in and realize that's what's happening in the world. Okay. And then turn it off and transition from that 30-minute thing, you know? But one thing that I want to just tell you that I do, when I'm writing a book, and, you know, because I just finished my 4th one. When I work with my editor and I get the outline, this is so funny. I sleep with it under my pillow.
I believe that.
Yeah. because I read it, I scan it, you know, and that's part of my writing process. We all have a different process. I scan it, I'll underline certain things, I'll print, you know, I print it out, staple it, and I slide it in my pillowcase and I sleep with it under my pillow.
So I promise you that things go in anyway, because I buy books. Like, I have an obsession with books. I have so many books that I haven't even got time to read them all. So sometimes I've had a book like by my bedside table, and I'm just like, I touch it and I'm like, I know you're there. I know I'll get to you. And by the time sometimes I get to it, yeah, right?
Yeah.
I open it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I know this. Like, I've already read this. This is weird. It's like it seeps in somehow. I don't know. It's like you brought it into your life, you know?
Yeah. Who was it? Edgar Casey. They say Edgar Casey could absorb an entire book by sleeping with his head on it.
Okay, well, that's what I'm doing from now on.
Yeah, I know.
I want to ask you a question, because I've really found that talking about mental health and like the nervous system during this lockdown, although there has been a lot of, obviously, you know, devastation and collective fear and all of that, I feel like my nervous system has been allowed to rest, and it has affected me in a positive way in my mental health. I felt different. Have you felt your nervous system has like felt?
I completely agree. I felt and I'm also with my parents, and I'm, you know, I'm single, so my whole life is like about me and my clients, you know. So to be here with family, and to be in this like peaceful place, we're cooking a lot together, you know. Both of my parents have businesses that are still open. So I've been, you know, a little more involved in my mother's chocolate shop and in my father's home building business.
So jealous. I love chocolate.
I know. You know what? Text me your address. I'm gonna send you some.
Are you serious?
No sugar either. Yeah, no sugar. It's monk fruit.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's so good. And you know what? She's like the queen of reinvention too. You know, like she, you know, growing up, my mom, she wrote a poetry book. She based around quilts. She was a professional quilter. She had quilting products sold at different stores. She wrote a quilting book, and then she became a seminary teacher. And she was actually one of my seminary teachers. I did 4 years of seminary. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, I did like formal religious seminary training. And she was one of the teachers. And during that period of time, she was like the seminary teacher, you know. And then she became a chocolatier. But it was one of those things where she was always making chocolates, always doing different things, you know. And so yeah, oh yeah, Blue Door Sky wants some chocolate too. Yeah, artisan chocolate. Karma in the Kitchen is what it's called. So the good karma is the vegan. It's vegan and no sugar.
That's
so
amazing.
I'll definitely.
No, seriously, can people order online for real?
Yeah, definitely. Karma in the Kitchen
I didn't know that. I thought it was just local. I didn't know you could order.
Oh yeah, you can totally
Send me the details. I need to share this because I didn't know she had vegan and you could order online. This is amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna send you the Good Karma gift box. It's like a $70 gift box and my book is in it. So it's like perfect. You'll love it. You'll totally.
I have an obsession with chocolate, so I don't care. I know, but for me, chocolate is just good for the soul. That's it. I love chocolate.
It really is, and my mom would be happy that you said that. I love to push the good. It's her line of Good Karma. The whole thing is called Karma in the Kitchen, but the Good Karma is like plant-based and no sugar in it. You know, I love to push that one because I like the Good Karma. Oh, someone in here is saying, oh, my friend is saying her chocolates look delicious. They're gorgeous. She's like an artist. She's literally like an artist, you know. And
I need to ask you another question.
Yeah.
About when we talk about mental health and just sort of feeling stressed sometimes. Now, I wasn't somebody that was very good at like sitting down and like doing schoolwork. But when I meet you, I feel like you are somebody that really can just sit down and get the work done. So I just want to share this because I think there might be people that sometimes struggle a little bit to kind of focus and get things done. And I want them to know that even with that, not being able to focus and like my brain being like a ping pong ball, I still managed to write the books. It just took some discipline. But am I right in saying you don't feel like that, right? When you sit down, you're just like, I'm doing this?
Well, if I'm really into it, you know, I am a reader. I tend to read a book as soon as I get it because I tend to, if I don't read it right away, it doesn't really get read, you know? And I did have so many books that I opened a library. I have a library in Los Angeles. Did you know that? In Korea? Yeah, in Koreatown in Los Angeles, we named it the Fireside Library and Meditation Center. Yeah, so I donated the majority of my Los Angeles collection to a library, and it was not it's like a new library. It's all the books in it are mine. It's like,
I love this. I have to go check it out.
Oh yeah, we're gonna open back up here pretty soon, as soon as we possibly can. Yeah. And it's just totally gorgeous. And so yeah, you know, for me, I will say I did not do well in school. I didn't do well in school, but man, I know my stuff. You know.
That's me. Yeah. Because the things that interest you, it's just so interesting. You have to read it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I started to find these old books, and I was like, you know, they take a little bit of intellectual rigor to process, and that's the part that's not really for everybody, you know. Yeah. And that became my dancing. I became like a professional reader, you know, and I started to read these books that were written in the 20s and the 30s, which are extremely academic, about esoteric spirituality of the different traditions, you know. And that I could just like, call me in the morning, bye. I could just
but then I like when you share it, because I think you then make something that is slightly like a lot or inaccessible, you make it accessible in your classes.
You're gonna love my newest book. You're gonna love that book I just turned in. You're gonna really love it. It's called Modern Spirituality, and this one is, they've all been fun to write, you know, and you can relate to this, having multiple books. Yeah. I love them all, and they all were for a specific purpose.
Yes.
But this fourth one is like,
when is it out? Like, when is it out? I need it.
This is like Ben Decker's book, you know. This is the one who, for people who really understand like the way that I approach things, this is like the one. It's called Modern Spirituality, and it comes out September 27th, which is my 33rd birthday.
Amazing. Soon.
Yeah, soon. Pretty soon. Yeah, but I do have next week Meditations on Christ come out.
Yes, and I love that. I love that too. It's and you know what's it's so interesting. A lady, when I was getting on a bus as a child, this lady came up to me and handed me a little book about like messages from Christ or something, like a tiny little booklet from the church. Mm-hmm. And I kept it with me. I still have it.
Wow.
And I just think I found it when I was clearing out our storage space in the UK, moving over here, and I just thought that is so weird, no? Right. That she planted that little seed. That little, who was it? She used to see me when I was, you know, getting on the bus going to dancing. She'd be like, hello, same lady every week. And she handed me that little book, but that's what she was meant to do. And then your book came out, and I thought, that's so interesting, because like
a lot of people are surprised, and I will say no one's more surprised than me that I wrote a book about Jesus. You know, a lot of people were very surprised that my new book is through a Christian lens, but I feel like there's so much beauty in Christianity, and that I think sort of gets bypassed. I think it's really fun and sexy to be witchy and magical and all of that kind of stuff, and I think that we forget how miraculous Christ really is. He's the greatest miracle worker of all time, you know. And if you think that there's not metaphysical secrets in what that guy was doing, then like you missed the boat on that one, you know.
Totally.
But so I appreciate that.
I was flicking through it, and I haven't read the whole thing, but how you said it out is very it's very fresh. That's how I'm going to say it. Very fresh. It's new.
Yeah. Right? Thank you. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. That was what I really wanted to do. I was like, you know what? When I read the Bible, it's just as powerful and supernatural as the Bhagavad Gita, you know, and it really is, as the Talmud, as the Zohar, as the I Ching, you know, and that's like my jam. I love that. That's the stuff for me. But it was especially powerful for me because of my connection to Christ as being born in that tradition. Jesus is my introduction to God. And so I had an even deeper connection to it. And I actually feel a little bit, how do I say this? I am really grateful to be able to present it in a fresh way. And so the way that book is, there's a Bible passage, a prayer, a meditation, and then journal prompts. So
very cool.
I had so much fun. It was like the most magical book. I had so much fun writing it. Yeah.
But when I was touring around England, and if I felt ever like I was, you know, just a little off and not grounded, I grew up Christian as well. I would find a church and just hit in there, and one of my cast members will just get in there and we'll just sit. So I guess that was a form of meditation even then, you know, before I was full on into meditation. But I would just sit there in the church and just feel the vibration.
Yeah, I love that, you know, and I'm so grateful for that. You know, a lot of times we have a problem with just looking at the negative things of past traditions. But the truth is, we can let the negativity go, and we can inherit the beauty and the power of it, you know? And if you let what's the expression? You don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know? It's like
That's interesting, because that actually brings me back to reinvention. And I think that was something for me I had to consider, because I wanted to kind of throw everything out that was, like as if it never happened.
Right.
And so for some time, I didn't even embrace anything from the past, not even the good stuff. It was like, no, right. no, right?
Right.
Because I
it's
didn't
like
know
associated.
how could I integrate that? Then I realized, oh no, I have so much wisdom that I've learned that I can use. Why am I throwing that away?
Right.
So it was like finding your balance between the two. And that's quite interesting when we get annoyed with something, we're just like, that doesn't work, moving on. Where actually, if you just pick out some of the things, you're like, oh, I can work with that. I can turn that. I can, you know, and that's when it becomes interesting, because that brings you to the unique point where your path is different from somebody else.
Yes, and that's integrity. It's authenticity, you know? That's what I saw. You like blossomed when you went to go do Dancing with the Stars in New Zealand as the judge there. I saw it. I was watching it. I was like, ooh, there she is, you know? Because it's almost like you were...
There's the past and the present clicked in.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ashamed, or I wasn't trying to hide what was before. I was owning all parts and say, this is who I am, and I can do this and I can do that, because I know who I am. I don't need outside validation. I know who I am. I'm not coming here to say, like me. I'm just going to do this because I feel that I could do some good here. Share meditation with a new audience.
I will say, you're just getting better and better. I've known you for years now, for, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years or something now. And you are getting better and better. Yeah, you're getting better and better.
Too.
And
you too. And I always tell you this, and I'm sure I'm meant to tell you again, like, I can see you speak from such a big platform, because you just have a lovely way.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. And it's just mutual. We're just growing together. We're just growing together. Yeah. And I think that we, you know, in the Bible it says iron sharpens iron. You know, we're sharpening each other. You know, we're helping each other.
You gave me a big push. Remember when I moved into my new offices? That was, you helped me. Yeah.
I was so proud of you, you know. I was like, good for her. That's a big commitment. And I wasn't even able to make it. You know, I was like, you know what? I can't commit to that, you know. And I could really feel, because I was going to go in on that office space with you, I could really feel the level of commitment it required to do that. And I was like, wow, she's really, really just like...
Yeah. You were meant to do that for me. You came into my life and we found this office, and it was like, I can't do it. And I was like, this is the moment where I have to step in and show myself I'm committed now. That was
Yeah.
a big part of the reinvention.
Yeah,
Thank you.
incredible. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. I know we totally went over time, but I just was so happy to hear from you and everything that you had to share. And thank you all for watching.
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna save this right now, and it'll be up on YouTube tomorrow. And I'm so happy that we got to do this. And so everyone, follow Camilla Dallerup on Instagram. That's the name, Camilla Dallerup. And she's got 3 amazing books, and each one will resonate with you at different times. I love It's Not You, It's Me, the newest one. But definitely check out Reinvent Me and Strictly Inspirational. And stay tuned, because she's got so many cool things coming up. There's audio affirmations she's creating and releasing here pretty soon. And stay tuned into her Instagram, because she's always releasing beautiful, helpful content. And this is the content you should be binging, not Game of Thrones.
Right.
This is
I
the
forgot
good
to
stuff.
say, my first book actually is being re-released this autumn with an extra chapter, and it's going to finally have the title that I always wanted, which was Dream, Believe, Succeed.
Wow, incredible. So that's even better. That's perfect. I'm so happy. Yeah, is it with the same publisher?
Yeah.
Cool.
And
okay.
no picture on the front. It's exactly how I really wanted it from the beginning. So that feels really nice. It feels sort of full circle with the 3 and that. So yeah.
Yeah. It's just growth. It's just maturity and growth, and that, you know, the picture of you on the cover of the first one was beautiful, and it was perfect.
I never wanted that.
Well, I think it served its purpose, you know, and you're maturing, and your message is maturing, and your audience is growing with you, and we're ready for the next thing. So thank you, Camilla.
So much, and I adore you.
I adore you. You're the best. Okay, well, I would love to do this again with you sometime. Yeah, thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a good one, Camilla. See you soon. Bye-bye.